For this video, we've got another Carolina themed coaster. And this one is a little bit ouchy. What's going on, everybody? My name is Mario. This is a channel all about amusement park type stuff, but mostly coasters. And today in my never-ending journey to rank and review every single coaster I have ever been on, we're going to be talking about Carolina Cyclone at Carowinds. This coaster was manufactured by Aerodynamics and has a height of 95 feet, a top speed of 41 miles per hour, a total of 4 inversions, a track length of 2,100 feet, and a ride duration of 42 seconds from the end of the lift to the start of the final brakes. Now, Carolina Cyclone is an older corkscrew coaster that opened back in 1980, and since it is an older ride, it is a bit rough. Now, the ride actually rolls on the track relatively smoothly, but the track profiling of this attraction is typical of an older aero coaster, which just means that the transitions are a bit unnatural. That, combined with the hard, over-the-shoulder harnesses, is likely to result in head or neck discomfort. Luckily, this didn't really affect me personally, as my head rests above the restraints, and I was able to ride defensively. The one thing that did unfortunately bother me, however, was my butt. The seats of the ride vehicles do not have any padding, so my bony buttocks was in direct contact with the hard fiberglass of the trains the entire ride. Wait, okay, I roll that back. It wasn't in direct contact. I was wearing pants. This would not have necessarily been a problem, but the coaster shaking around throughout the ride did lead to a fair bit of butt smacking. But now that I've talked about my rear end far more than I would have liked to, let's look at some of the positives of this coaster, starting with the off-ride experience. Like any self-respecting aerodynamics corkscrew coaster, Carolina Cyclone is situated perfectly over the nearby pathway. You can walk directly underneath the ride's 2 corkscrews, leading to some incredible visuals both on and off ride. The appearance of this coaster in general is incredible. It recently received a new paint job, and this has to be one of my favorite looking coasters out there. It also has a nice barn-esque station building with dark wood that complements the bright colors of the coaster beautifully. It is just so photogenic. As far as operations go, I was able to get right on this coaster without waiting, as I'm assuming this is not the most popular attraction in the park. I think it is also worth noting that on the Thursday that I visited, this coaster did not open until around 2 p.m. So just know that if you go on a slower day, this coaster may have more limited operations. But enough jibber jabber, let's talk about the on-ride experience. And this will all be based on riding in the back car, because that is the only place I rode this coaster. Your ride starts out by dipping out of the station, making a left-hand turn, and slowly climbing your way to the top of the lift hill. That's followed by another left-hand turn and a relatively small drop that provides a decent amount of airtime, popping you out of your seat. Landing back into your seat is uncomfortable, however, for all of the reasons that I went into when I was talking about my butt. That's followed by 2 back-to-back loops that provide a heavy amount of positive G-forces, pushing you down into your seat. Now, the first time I rode this coaster, I did actually gray out, meaning I lost a little bit of my vision going through these 2 loops. Although I'd gone a significant amount of time without eating before I rode this coaster, so that could have played a factor. But either way, these are 2 fun and forceful loops. The turn that follows these loops is one of the worst parts of the ride, as you are traveling at a relatively high speed, and the change of your direction starts before the track fully banks. This results in some very uncomfortable laterals, throwing you to the side of your train, and in this part it is pretty hard to avoid smacking either your head or your neck into the over-the-shoulder restraints. The exit out of this turn and into the double corkscrews is also a bit problematic, but in the opposite direction. Your body is aggressively thrown to the right of the train, and again, this is not the most comfortable experience. The double corkscrews are, however, incredibly fun. You do travel through them slow enough to get a bit of a floating sensation as you go through the highest point of the corkscrews. And as I mentioned prior, traveling over the midways with people down below is quite fun as well. The turn that follows the corkscrew is thankfully a lot less aggressive, as it banks pretty naturally and there's no abrupt changes in direction, throwing you to either side of the train. This turn takes you into the finale of the coaster, which I absolutely absolutely love. Prior to riding Carolina Cyclone, I had absolutely no idea that there was a final helix, which a helix in and of itself is not the most exciting ride element, but this one in particular is partially below ground level and has wooden cross beams going over your head, which both drastically add to your sense of speed and deliver great excitement, feeling like you are barely missing those obstacles. Additionally, the profiling of this section is not too terrible either, with just a minimal amount of shuffling side to side. This slightly underground section of the ride is actually very similar to Carolina Gold Rusher just across the midway. I think it's super fun that two of the older rides in the park have some on-ride similarities, and I honestly think it's kind of the best part of both of the rides. So you definitely end on a high note as that helix takes you into the final breaks. So, what would I rate Carolina Gold Rusher? I think it is deserving of a 4 out of 10. Despite all of the fun elements that this coaster delivers, I do find riding it a little difficult to enjoy. I do think a bit more padding on the seats would definitely go a long way, and it would honestly impact my overall feelings of this coaster. As far as where I place Carolina Cyclone on the list of 241 coasters that I have been on so far, it currently sits at 188. It's pretty fun. It's not the roughest coaster I've been on, but every coaster above it is more comfortable and or more exciting. But that's enough of my thoughts on Carolina Cyclone. I'd love to know what you guys think about it or other corkscrew coasters in the comments down below. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe and turn on notifications for more content like this. And make sure to tune in next time where I'll be talking about whatever this wheel lands on.